What's going on, guys? Man, what a slate we have after a nice couple days off. For me personally, a day off for most of you guys. I know a lot of you guys ended up playing Wednesday, but this 2-day break really did wonders for me in terms of locking back in. Really excited. Got a lot of that news in early. PG, what happened to Paul George? Oh, did he not hit the over prop on Prize Picks? Yeah, I know they gave him a discount on there. The discount wasn't as nice as I would have liked to see, but yeah. What's going on, Sean? Just smacked $500 with a discount on CFB pass yards in early game. Yes, let's go. Yeah, I mean, you want to take advantage of these plays as much as possible. I did like the LaMelo Ball. Is that still up there right now on Prize Picks? Because that is pretty enticing. Yeah, it's not on there anymore. Because I do like LaMelo Ball tonight. What's going on, McNasty? Zion clear for full practice basketball activities. I mean, dude, that's exciting. I mean, we're missing out on year 21 of Zion Williamson right now. You know, this could be a prime spot for Zion Williamson this year. So hopefully we get him back sooner rather than later. Look back. Let's go, Damian. All right, guys. We got a lot of games on the slate, 11 games, a lot to go over. We're really not waiting on too much injury news right now, so hopefully we can go through this stream pretty smoothly. If you guys are a part of Patreon, everything is up to date right now, so if you guys want to take a look at that, link is down below. Feeling really good about the FanDuel lineup. We did get a bring back with the Kings guys, who are going to be very popular for good reason tonight. Marvin Bagley, not very, very excited. All right, let's just jump right into this. All right, we will start up top with the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Charlotte Hornets at 225 over under. The Hornets are currently 2.5-point favorites. You know, this is one of the best game environments on the entire slate. Getting some pieces from this game is going to be vital for your lineup creating activities. Timberwolves are going to be without Patrick Beverley. Josh Okogie is still questionable. Patrick Beverley left the game early last time. Malik Beasley ended up closing that game, played 37.5 minutes. We already received word after that game that they would like to continue to bring Beasley off the bench. So hopefully that is only going to lower his ownership. He should still play, 32, 34 minutes in a great matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets are third in pace. The Timberwolves are ninth in pace in their own right. So this is, like I said, one of the best game environments on the entire slate. Going to want to have a few pieces from this. Patreon is $25 a month, just to answer your question. So yeah, I mean, Malik Beasley is going to be one of my favorite value plays on the entire slate. Obviously, some other values did open up, but as of right now, he's still my favorite. And with him coming off the bench, hopefully that lowers his ownership. Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and D'Angelo Russell are all in very, very good spots tonight. I would maybe limit how many of them you play over here on Draftkings. FanDuel, it's a little bit different given the prices, but Draftkings, I mean, you could play Beasley with Towns. You could throw in Russell as well or Edwards, but I would make sure to limit to only 2 of these 3 tonight of the top end Minnesota guys with Malik Beasley, but should be a shorter rotation tonight, and this game should be competitive and high scoring. 225 over under is pretty high considering what we've seen so far in 2021. Move over to the Charlotte Hornets. Mason Plumlee is headed towards a game time decision. If he were to be ruled out, PJ Washington is still coming back from this injury. Only played 6 minutes last time out, and they chose to go small for most of the game, and that's what we've been seeing from them. And if they do go small without Mason Plumlee, this game is going to be even faster than anticipated. So we're going to see those small ball lineups with Miles Bridges at the 5, some more Kelly Oubre. So LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, 2 of my favorite tournament plays on the entire slate. LaMelo Ball finally got his minutes cut back. Last game he was benched in the second half of that game because he was doing some pretty stupid things on the court. But we saw before that we were seeing his range of minutes go up to that 38, 39 minute range after he started complaining about how much he was playing. So LaMelo Ball is going to be very, very low owned today, and he is one of my favorite plays on the slate. So from a tournament aspect, I absolutely love LaMelo Ball. And if you're playing 2 or 3 of these Minnesota guys, you probably want to bring it back with somebody in tournaments. Cash games, I don't think it's necessary, but in tournaments, bringing it back with one of LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges is my preference. I don't mind Kelly Oubre just because I think this game ends up going small, and so he'll get some extra burn there. He has been playing very well in those small ball lineups. Move over to the Phoenix Suns versus the New York Knicks, a 216 over under. The Suns are currently 3.5-point favorites. The Suns have Dario Saric and Frank Kaminsky out. Abdel Nader is questionable. Actually, we did just get news on Nader. I don't think he's playing. It doesn't really matter. He's hardly a part of the rotation. Not really interested in anybody on this Phoenix team, although the Knicks are pretty awful on defense, contrary to what we saw last year. I think DeAndre Ayton is a fine play, but he comes at a very, very stacked center position today. On the New York Knicks side, they're going to be without Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson. Mitchell Robinson is cleared to play, so that takes away the value of Nerlens Noel right there. Him and Mitchell Robinson should split those 48 center minutes. Actually, that's probably not even true. They probably end up going with Julius Randle for a good bit at the 5 as well. So no longer interested in Nerlens Noel. And then Kemba Walker, we saw it last game. So Derrick Rose and Kemba Walker pretty consistently split all 48 point guard minutes. We saw Derrick Rose miss last game, but Kemba Walker still only played 23 minutes. So his floor of minutes is still very, very low, even with Rose out. They feel comfortable with playing Alec Burks and Emmanuel quickly at the point guard position. So Kemba Walker is not locked into playing 30 plus minutes, but he will have the first opportunity. This Phoenix Suns defense isn't quite as imposing as you would be led to believe. They have put up pretty good defensive rates so far this year, but they have had one of the easiest matchups in the entire league. So I still don't mind Kemba Walker. He is starting, so he's going to have the first opportunity to play well and get extended minutes in this game. So at $5,000, I think he's a very good play, but just be sure to know that it's not a shoo-in for him to play 30 plus minutes. We just saw it last game. So guys like Alec Burks, Emmanuel quickly are decent tournament options at $4,200 and $4,600. Not really considering anybody else on the Knicks. Move over to the Chicago Bulls versus the Orlando Magic. A 212.5 over under. The Bulls are currently 8.5-point favorites. The Bulls are going to be without Patrick Williams. And Nikola Vucevic returned last game, ended up playing 26 minutes. And so, this is a revenge game for Vucevic, if he really cares about moving from Orlando to Chicago, from one of the worst teams to now seemingly one of the better teams in the NBA with the Chicago Bulls. He didn't look all that great last game, but with him back, everybody is priced up as if Nikola Vucevic is still out, but he is back. So guys like DeRozan, Levine, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso kind of lose their value with him being back. Not really considering anybody on the Chicago Bulls, despite them having a really good matchup in the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic are going to be without Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, Michael Carter-Williams, Etuan Moore, Jonathan Isaac, and then Terrence Ross is now officially active. The Bulls have been the 9th best defense so far this year. But with Cole Anthony out, there is some pretty serious value in guys like Wendell Carter Jr. and Jalen Suggs, two guys that really like to run this offense without Cole Anthony. But, Cole Anthony has been very, very good this year. And without him, the Orlando Magic have looked abysmal offensively. When they do beat these teams, it's by defense. And, this is a tougher matchup. So, I think Wendell Carter Jr. is too cheap at $5,600. Jalen Suggs priced appropriately, given how volatile his production can be, but the opportunities will be there for both of these guys. More of tournament options for me. I guess you could get away with playing Wendell Carter in cash games. The Bulls have been getting pretty beat up in the interior, so I don't mind Wendell Carter Jr. Jalen Suggs, more of a tournament option. Move over to the Toronto Raptors versus the Indiana Pacers at 210 over under. The Pacers are currently 4-point favorites. The Raptors are going to be without Khem Birch. OG Anunoby, I believe, is still questionable. So they were planning on him being out for a while, but apparently these last couple of games he's been questionable. Actually, they were expecting him back last Wednesday. He ended up not playing. So I think there is a good opportunity for him to play here. If he is healthy, I'm not considering anybody on this team. If he were to be ruled out, expect Precious Achiuwa to grab the start again. He grabbed the start last game in the absence of Khem Birch and OG Anunoby. He played 27.5 minutes. He would be a very good play at $4,100, but need OG Anunoby to be ruled out for him to be viable on this slate. Move over to the Indiana Pacers side. TJ Warren is out. Malcolm Brogdon is entirely too cheap at $7,500. You take a look at some of these games. He played 46 minutes in an overtime game here, but still played 41 minutes in regulation. This Bulls game blew out, so his minutes got cut back. Same with the Pelicans. And then I believe, and then this was a weird situation with the Charlotte Hornets where the entire starting unit got benched in the third quarter, early in the third quarter, and the bench unit closed the game out because they kind of led a mini comeback against the Hornets. But in a normal scenario, I'm expecting Malcolm Brogdon to play like 38 minutes in these games. Gets a middling matchup against the Toronto Raptors. $7,500 is entirely too cheap for him. Karis LeVert's minutes have been trending downwards as well as his role in that team. Guys like Justin Holiday, Chris Duarte really eating into his minutes. So love Malcolm Brogdon today. Move over towards the Atlanta Hawks versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Probably my second or third favorite game stack on the slate. So love getting some players from here. 226 over under. The Grizzlies are currently 1-point favorites. The Hawks are going to be without Onyeka Okongwu, DeAndre Hunter as well. Bogdan Bogdanovic is questionable. I'm expecting him to play in this game. He has had just a plethora of ailments throughout this season, but he continues to play. If he were to be active, more of a secondary option for me. I think Trae Young is in a very good spot given that the Memphis Grizzlies have a 115.1 defensive rating so far this year, which is by far the worst in the entire NBA news. So, a very good matchup for the Atlanta Hawks here. I like Trae Young. I like Clint Capella, but, I'm just not getting to as much as I would like to today, just given the plays in the Minnesota game and the Kings game later. But, these are some of the best plays on the entire slate between them. Kevin Huerter should continue to play 30-plus minutes in competitive games. He's not too bad of a play either, but really need the Bogdan Bogdanovic news. Because if he were to be ruled out, Cam Reddish at $3,700 would be one of my favorite value plays and would be a great pivot off of the popular value plays in that price range. On the Memphis Grizzlies side, they are going to be without Sam Merrill. D'Anthony Melton is currently questionable. Hawks have the sixth worst defensive rating in the entire league. They are the worst half-court defense in the entire league. So guys like John Morant are in a really good spot. Jaren Jackson Jr., Dylan Brooks, I think they are fine plays, but the minutes are just so volatile with his team. They really run a hot hand approach. So, they're more secondary options for me. John Morant would be more of a focus from this Memphis team. And then, Brandon Clark, the last four halves in the last two games, he has closed out the game instead of Steven Adams. So, Brandon Clark, an interesting tournament option at a power forward / center spot today. Not really on Steven Adams. Move over to the Washington Wizards versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. A 206 over under. The Wizards are currently 7.5-point favorites. The Wizards are going to be without Thomas Bryant. Rui Hachimura are both questionable. I doubt they play today. Bradley Beal is a fine tournament option. But I will say that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the other side of the court was upgraded from out to questionable. So I think there's a good chance that Shai ends up playing in this game, which is even more of a chance of this game staying competitive. So makes Bradley Beal a bit more viable on the slate. On the Thunder side, like I just said, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a midday upgrade from out to questionable. So there is a good chance that he plays. If he is active, I'm not interested in anybody on this Thunder team. If he is ruled out, I think Josh Giddey and Lou Dort become two of the best plays on the entire slate. So need to monitor the status of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Move over to the Boston Celtics versus the San Antonio Spurs at 214.5 over under. The Celtics are currently 3-point favorites. The Celtics are going to be without Robert Williams. Josh Richardson is doubtful, and then Jaylen Brown is questionable due to conditioning injuries. Now, they may have brought him back a bit too soon because in the last two games that he's been back, they've kind of limited his minutes. His minutes were going to trend upwards in the last game if it didn't end up blowing out. And we already did get word from the Celtics that if he is active today, that his minutes are going to be a lot higher than they were in the previous games, around that 24-minute mark, which would make me like Jaylen Brown's over 30.5 fantasy points over here on PrizePicks.com because, this is a projection as if his minutes are going to be in the mid-20s. Now, if he's going to play low 30s minutes against a weak San Antonio Spurs defense, 30.5 fantasy points is way too low for Jaylen Brown. Before he got injured, he was kind of leading this team even more so than Jason Tatum. So I love the over on Jaylen Brown, 30.5 fantasy points. That was a good call by Matt in the Discord. Shout out, Matt. Move over to the San Antonio Spurs. Zach Collins is out. Zach Collins, Devin Vassell, and Doug McDermott are all out today. So Jakob Poeltl, before he was injured, he was playing massive minutes, like 34, 36 minutes a game. He was on pace to play 34 minutes last game before the game ended up blowing out. The Boston Celtics are going to be without Robert Williams, who is a great defender. Al Horford's a great defender as well, but you just take away one more big, much better matchup for Jakob Poeltl with just Al Horford out there as opposed to Al Horford and Robert Williams. So if we're going to get a guy that averages 1.05 fantasy points per minute on the season, on top of him playing around 34 minutes in what's supposed to be a competitive game, absolutely love him at $5,700. Now, center is very stacked tonight, so I don't think he's a must play, but he is one of the best center options on the entire slate. And then I think DeJounte Murray is an interesting option at $9,400. Keldon Johnson at $5,500 without Doug McDermott and Devin Vassell. That just secures his minutes. He's been playing more minutes recently as well, so we could see mid to high mid 30s minutes from Keldon Johnson. I prefer him over on FanDuel. He just fits a lot better over there. And then I think Lonnie Walker should assume a lot of these minutes between Doug McDermott and Devin Vassell. He could reach upwards of like low 30s minutes today, and he is only $3,800. So if you want a direct pivot off of a guy like Malik Beasley, who's going to be very, very chalky today, Lonnie Walker, a good tournament pivot. He's throughout his career has been a pretty good permanent producer. Move over to the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Denver Nuggets. 214 over under. The Bucks are currently 3.5 point favorites. The Bucks are going to be without Brook Lopez, Dante DiVincenzo, and Semi Ojeleye. Should be a close competitive game, which is something we're not used to with the Milwaukee Bucks. So this would be a time to play Giannis, but with the team fully healthy, I think the days of him playing high 30s minutes in the regular season games is kind of behind him. Even if this game is close, he's probably playing upwards of like 32, 34 minutes at the very most. Like, obviously, he has a ceiling in those minutes. We saw not too long ago against the Orlando Magic. He only played 30 minutes and put up 74 fantasy points. So doesn't need crazy minutes to pay off his price tag, but $12,200 is pretty damn pricey. I mean, it's becoming more viable to play him today just because more value ended up opening up because of the Kings, but I'm just not getting to him all that much today. And then Drew Holiday at $6,800. He's at a very stacked point guard position where you pay a couple $100 more, you can get guys like Malcolm Brogdon, De'Aaron Fox, D'Angelo Russell, who I think are better plays. But if you want to save some money, or if you just can't get up to that level, I think Drew Holiday is in a good spot. We saw him play 39 minutes a couple of games ago, so clearly he's not on any sorts of minutes limit. I think he's more of a secondary option. And then with the line being just 3.5 points, I think that kind of indicates that Nikola Jokic will give it a go today. That's kind of why I thought Jokic would sit last game, was because the line was like the Trailblazers were like 7.5 point favorites. So I was like, I'm pretty sure he's not going to play just because of that line. So if you kind of read into the line now, it looks like Jokic will be active. The Nuggets are going to be without Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., PJ Dozier, Bones Highland is doubtful. And like I just mentioned, Nikola Jokic probably headed towards a game time decision. We'll probably go through warm-ups and see how he's feeling, but I expect him to give it a go today. And he's been like a full go in these practices, so I'm expecting him to be a full go in this game, and he could play upwards of like 38 minutes this game. The interior defense of the Milwaukee Bucks isn't nearly the same with Bobby Portis out there as opposed to when Brook Lopez is out there. So Jokic should have a pretty good time. The only concern for me is that, he's been out with this wrist injury on his shooting hand. I know he's been practicing without it the last couple of days, but that could affect his shooting, could affect his passing. More of a wait and see approach for me, but he could absolutely go nuclear in this game. DeAnthony Melton now probable for this game. Okay, so that kind of eats into the minutes of Dillon Brooks, but Melton really wasn't playing all that much with DeAnthony Melton healthy, or with Dillon Brooks back rather, and then Josh Okogie is also available to play today. But yeah, if Jokic is ruled out, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, both the green guys get a significant bump, but not really getting there even if Jokic were to be ruled out. It is a tough matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks. Move over to the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Utah Jazz at 217 over under. The Utah Jazz are currently 12.5 point favorites. So this game could very, very well get out of hand. Melton went from questionable to probable to now a game time decision. Interesting. So the Pelicans are going to be without Zion Williamson and Dalton Hams, although we did just receive news that Zion Williamson is good to go for practices moving forward, so that is exciting. Devontae Graham returned last game and played 21 minutes. He was looking like he was pretty injured out there, so I don't think he's at full go right now. If I were to play anybody from this game, I think this matchup best suits Brandon Ingram, but I'm not really interested in anybody on this side, especially given the blowout risk. The Utah Jazz, Royce O'Neal is questionable. If he were to miss, Joe Ingles would probably end up starting. Rudy Gay coming off the bench. Both of them would get a bump in minutes. Royce O'Neal does play quite a bit, so there would be minutes going around to guys like Ingles and Rudy Gay, but Really not interested in anybody on this Utah Jazz team, although the Pelicans have the 5th worst defense in the entire NBA. Very good matchup for the Utah Jazz if this game is competitive. Guys like Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, pretty solid plays, but I'm just not getting there all too much. Move over to the Portland Trailblazers versus the Golden State Warriors at 225 over under. The Warriors are currently 6-point favorites. Anthony Simmons, it looks like he's going to give it a go today. The Warriors have the best defense in the league by far, 99.7 defensive rating, have been very stout in the paint. So Jusuf Nurkic is in a very tough spot right here. If it was going to be anybody from here, from this Trailblazers team, it would be Damian Lillard. You know, him versus Steph Curry is an interesting tournament stack. And I do think that Lillard, McCollum, and Norman Powell are probably going to get pushed as much as they possibly can when it comes to minutes. These guys could end up playing like 38, 40 minutes. So I think they're decent plays, but contrarian tournament options for me. Steph Curry, you know, Steph Curry might be the best spin-up option on the entire slate. The games that he doesn't pay off his price tag are really when they're facing teams much lesser than them and the game gets out of hand, and he kind of just lets Jordan Poole and Wiggins and Draymond Green kind of facilitate the entire offense. But when it's competitive games against guys like Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers, you know, Steph Curry kind of puts the team on his back, and this definitely seems like a matchup that could play close enough to where Curry gets his full complement of minutes and he's out there, you know, trying to run the offense the entire time. We kind of see Curry, like I just said, take a step back in some of these games. So I think we could see a very big game out of Steph Curry today, and he's going to be virtually unowned today because I think the balanced build of those guys in the mid-range like Karl-Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Malcolm Brogdon, De'Aaron Fox, is kind of the typical cash build. So if you're getting up to guys like Steph Curry, I think you are going to be very, very contrarian. But like I mentioned, you know, there's a lot more value specifically in this Kings game that opened up that allows you to get up to those payoff options if you feel like doing that. The Sacramento Kings versus the Los Angeles Lakers at 229 over under. The Lakers are currently 7.5-point favorites. The Sacramento Kings are going to be without Rashawn Holmes and Harrison Barnes. Yeah, we got that news very, very early. I'm pretty surprised Harrison Barnes was ruled out because they kind of downplayed the injury after the game. Not very surprised that Rashawn Holmes is there, but Alex Lynn ended up starting in place of Rashawn Holmes last game. Only played 17 minutes, was in pretty deep foul trouble. And then they ended up closing with Damian Jones over him. You know, this is a very tough matchup for him against, a tough matchup in terms of not getting in foul trouble against the Los Angeles Lakers. And, you know, Anthony Davis going to be eating at him. We did just get news on the Minnesota Timberwolves starting lineup. It's exactly what I thought. D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, Jane McDaniels, Vanderbilt, and Karl-Anthony Towns. So Beasley's coming off the bench. I thought that was going to happen, which is completely fine. I still think that they closed the game with him, and he's going to play like 32, 34 minutes. So hopefully that lowers his ownership. I think he is in a very, very good spot today. Yeah, really hope that lowers his ownership. But yeah, Alex Lynn should start for $3,000. You know, he had a pretty tough time avoiding foul trouble last time, and now he's facing Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook. All these guys are going to be attacking the rim, attacking Alex Lynn. He is a good per-minute producer, but they're probably going to run the hot hand approach, whether it's him or Damian Jones. They could also close with Marvin Bagley at the 5, which would make a lot of sense with the Lakers closing small with Anthony Davis at the 5. So Alex Lynn, more of a tournament option for me, really focusing on guys like De'Aaron Fox at $7,700. I think he should absolutely run this offense. For the most part, over the last couple weeks, he has been a lot more aggressive. I think with a couple of these key guys out, he'll end up being a lot more aggressive. He was on pace to put up a very, very good game last time before he ended up getting ejected. I think he picks it up against the Los Angeles Lakers team here, who is second in pace and a bottom 10 defense. So absolutely love De'Aaron Fox today. And I love Buddy Hield at $5,800. Mason Plumlee officially ruled out. So yeah, I'm going to want, we'll get into that in a second. Let me finish this game real quick. But that game has just got a lot more enticing with Mason Plumlee being ruled out. I'm expecting Bagley to either start here or close out these games. You know, they do have a new coach in Alvin Gentry right now, so they're kind of trying out new things right now, but with them becoming thinner, I think that they give Marvin Bagley a chance to either start here or play a lot bigger minutes than we've seen. You know, we saw his season high in minutes just last game with 19 minutes. He hit the dagger against the Portland Trailblazers. Absolutely love Marvin Bagley at $4,200. And I think Davion Mitchell actually gets a pretty big bump in minutes as well. He should play low 30s minutes. He's only $3,400. A very, very good play. Getting 3 or 4 of these Sacramento Kings guys is a very good idea. In my opinion, the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be without Kendrick Nunn, Trevor Ariza, LeBron James and Austin Reeves are questionable. It actually looks like LeBron James is probable as of right now. I'm expecting him to give it a go. If you do want to bring it back with one of these Lakers guys, Anthony Davis is my choice. Alex Lynn and whoever's in this front court of the Sacramento Kings is absolutely going to get murdered. They were already a very poor rebounding team with Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes, and now they are both out. So Anthony Davis, I think, could absolutely go nuclear here. Of course, just a tournament only option. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will start today. So, over here on Prize Picks, while we are still at it, we can consider taking the unders on guys like Josh Giddey, Lugan Dort. These are fine. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander also not on a minutes limit. So, yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder guys are no longer in play with Shai being healthy. Just to reiterate from the Lakers, yeah, Anthony Davis in a nuclear spot. I think LeBron James is too cheap over on FanDuel at 9,900. Not really considering anybody else with them being mostly at full strength. But yeah, if you guys are in here, enjoy this content, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Would really appreciate that. But let's just jump right into these questions. If you guys have any questions at all, make sure to let me know. We got about 31 minutes to rip through some of these. I'm not really waiting on too much injury news as of right now. I guess the Jokic stuff, but we're probably not going to get that until after lock. I had more speed before lock. Curry over 5.5 3-pointers. Haha, crazy. Yeah, I mean, you would imagine, like, that's a ton of 3-pointers, but it just really looks like a spot that he would be successful in. It's going to be a crazy night. Any love for Bobby Portis? I mean, Bobby Portis has been very, very good lately. I'm assuming Jokic is healthy, and the Denver Nuggets have been very good defensively, especially in the paint and protecting the rim. Jokic has been a lot better defensively this year, so I'm not really on Bobby Portis today personally. Should be a pretty slow-paced game as well. Bagley over 25 fantasy points. I like that. Who's the cash center? I mean, cash center, Aaron Wiggins inactive today. Aaron Wiggins, not Andrew Wiggins. So that doesn't really affect all that much because he started last game, but that was with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander active. Best cash center, yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns and Jakob Poeltl, I think, are the two cash centers tonight. I think that you play one of those guys, you can definitely play both of them. I think both of them are in very, very good safe spots tonight. Any additional Prize Picks leans? Yeah, we can kind of go through it. If the Al Horford one is still there, I still lean the over right there. So I already like the over 30.5 fantasy points for Jaylen Brown. If he's ruled out, the play will just void. But if he is ruled in, we already know that they mentioned that he will have an increase in his minutes limit. I like the Al Horford over 32 fantasy points. You obviously need somebody else to pair with that because they are from the same team. I mean, I've been staring at this. Assuming this game, Chris Fetzner, thank you so much for the subscription. If Nikola Jokic is healthy, this game should stay competitive. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is too low at 52.5 fantasy points. If he is getting his full complement of minutes and is playing 32, 34 minutes, there's almost no world that Giannis doesn't hit this 52.5 fantasy points. So I like the over on Giannis here. Not often is there games where we don't really have to look for blowouts there. I also like the over Draymond Green, 31.5 fantasy points. I like the over De'Aaron Fox, 35 fantasy points. So yeah, there's a lot of routes that you could end up going today. I like the over Anthony Davis, 42 fantasy points as well. I mean, you could really stack up this last game. I mean, the Kings and Lakers last game is looking just like really, really good from a game stacking perspective. And you can stack that with the first game of the night too. I think those are the two best games, the Minnesota-Charlotte game and the Lakers and Kings game. Those are by far the two best game environments on the entire slate. With Shai in, that screws Dort. Yeah, Dort and Josh Giddey are no longer in play for me. Although I will say that Lugan Dort was paying off this price tag even when Shai was healthy. They just really don't ever budge his price tag. Oubre is about to play a ton now. Yeah, Kelly Oubre just becomes a much more viable play now that Mason Plumlee is rolled out. I'm assuming that they are going to. I want to see what the starting lineup is because it should be PJ Washington is starting. Okay, so yeah, PJ Washington only played 6 minutes last game. I think that they are probably still leaning on going smaller in this matchup. So Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball get a huge uptick. The Minnesota Timberwolves get a huge uptick because this game's going to be running way faster. The Hornets are already the third fastest team in the NBA, but if they're going to continue to play small with no Mason Plumlee, I mean, this game is just going to go crazy, and I would consider taking the over in this game, actually. I don't know what it's currently at, but this game is going to absolutely fly. You're going to want pieces from both sides of that game. In tournaments, Curry, Davis, Cat, yeah, I mean, if you could fit in all three, that'd be nice, but Cat seems like the most affordable guy there. Love both those guys. Mason Plumlee, yeah, Plumlee's out. What do you think about with Plumlee out? Yeah, just kind of went over that. Draymond Green and DK Cash. I think Draymond Green definitely a cash play today. Good game environment. I think the game actually ends up going small with Larry Nance at the 5 on the opposite side. But, you know, the price is just suppressed on Draymond Green because he never gets his full complement of minutes because the Warriors have been so damn good this year that they blow literally everybody out. But whenever he gets his full complement of minutes, like he played 32 minutes here, put up 35 fantasy points, put 32 minutes here, put up 30 and a half fantasy points. He's never really going to kill you, but the upside is there. He is actually one of the league leaders in potential assists per game, has more than Steph Curry. It almost seems like he runs the offense more than Steph in terms of facilitating the offense. So, like Draymond Green quite a bit. I think he's fine in cash games. Blum is out. Do you like having AD, Fox, and Bagley? I absolutely love that, man. 3 favorite plays today? I mean, probably Marvin Bagley. I really like Marvin Bagley today. Karl Anthony Towns, Jakob Poeltl, kind of my favorite plays today. Does SGA playing downgrade JRE for you? Yeah, I just don't really like the Thunder guys anymore with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander active. Small forward / shooting guard on FanDuel 5,900. Gonna be Buddy Hield for me. Herter or Burks. I probably, for cash games, it's definitely Herter. Although Burks does have higher upside if he can continue to steal minutes away from Kemba Walker. Any love for Bobby Portis? Not really on Bobby Portis today. Kelly Oubre or PJ? I would go with Kelly Oubre there. Davion Mitchell, a good play. Davion Mitchell is a great play today. I mean, he should run this backup offense completely by himself, and he has a good chance of closing, actually. So, I think he plays like low 30s minutes. Thoughts on Alex Lynn? Alex Lynn, more of a tournament option for me. He is the bare minimum. Should play pretty big, or should get a good opportunity today, but I think the foul trouble risk is pretty severe against the Lakers, and they are very willing just to close the game out with Damian Jones. We saw that last game that they just closed with Damian Jones and Marvin Bagley, and Alex Lynn just didn't see the court past the beginning of the third quarter. And like I said, like very severe foul trouble risk here, and he's probably going to gain some ownership, so I'm fine with fading that. And he comes at a very stacked position at the center spot. Thoughts on Vanderbilt? Not really on Vanderbilt. Russell or Bridges straight up? Probably Bridges for me. Favorite power forward plays on FanDuel: Marvin Bagley, Wendell Carter Jr., Anthony Davis, Julius Randle. Probably my favorite guys there. Keldon Johnson as well, I think, is in play. D'Lo or Brogdon? Gonna be Brogdon for me.
It's a tricky thing for me to answer,
but mostly because I'm likely to get. Wow, Trae Young a game time decision, huh? Trae Young was probable, but you know the Hawks have been like this, man.
I just felt terrible.
I mean, this would switch up the slate a ton if Trae Young was ruled out. Yeah, if Trae Young is ruled out, I mean, okay, OG Anunoby officially ruled out. So Precious Achiuwa is definitely active or going to grab the start here. $4,100 center for Precious Achiuwa. I think he's in a pretty good spot. You know, he is undersized, but they will need what size he does have against the Pacers in their jumbo front court with Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner. So at $4,100, he becomes more of an A tier play as opposed to a C tier play for me personally. 6.3K utility, 3 max on DK. Let's take a look at 6.3K utility over here on DraftKings. Yeah, I mean, it's probably Buddy Hield at 5.8K or Tyrese Halliburton at 6K. Favorite pay-up option, not named Towns. Probably Jokic, assuming he starts. If Jokic doesn't start, then it's Steph Curry. But, dude, I'm telling you, like, LaMelo Ball, AD, Curry, Jokic are going to have like literally no ownership tonight and are in such amazing spots. It's just like crazy. Nobody's going to go there. And now there is definitely value to get there today with Davion Mitchell, Alex Len, I suppose, Marvin Bagley, Malik Beasley, Lonnie Walker without Doug McDermott, and Devin Vassell. Like, there's definitely value to get up here, but I think the best point per dollar plays on the slate are in the mid-range, so that's why they're going to end up being so low owned. But in tournaments, I think going to those guys over 10K is a pretty good strategy. In cash games, I'd probably stick with the De'Aaron Foxes, Anthony Edwards, Malcolm Brogdons, Miles Bridges, D'Angelo Russell's, this price range, and building more of a balanced lineup. Steph, Beasley, Hield, Clark, Joker, Davion Mitchell, Bagley, Triple J, DK, GPP. I like that quite a bit in tournaments, man. Yeah, I can get behind all those guys for the most part. Not necessarily Jaren Jackson Jr., but I do like the rest of it. Buddy Hield, yeah, I think Buddy Hield nearly must play for me tonight. Yeah, PJ Washington's starting, but I just think that there is a very good chance that they just close small. Even though Washington is pretty undersized, I think they end up closing small with Miles Bridges at the 5. And guys like Cody Martin and Kelly Oubre become a bit better plays than Washington there. If Trae Young is out, you like Reddish and D Wright. Yeah, I think Cam Reddish would be in a really good spot. DeLon Wright as well. Actually, if Bogdan is healthy, if we go back to last year, whenever Trae Young was out, Kevin Huerter ran the offense an absolute ton. Do you guys remember when Kevin Huerter was like, just side note, he was like nearly 10K last year for one of the slates. Yeah, Kevin Huerter would get a pretty significant bump actually if Trae Young were to be ruled out. Definitely need to monitor that because that definitely throws a wrench into things. Barton or Trent on FanDuel. Probably Barton for me, even if Jokic is in. Bridges or Siakam. I'm probably leaning Bridges now. This game environment is just like very, very good, and we could easily see Miles Bridges close at the 5. Huerter, Burks, or Oubre. Man, that's tough. For cash games, I probably just lean Huerter there. Fox, Beasley, Ant, PJ, Pirtle, Trey, Burks, Rozier, DKGP. Love it, man. Why is Buddy a lock? Rashawn Holmes and Harrison Barnes are both out tonight, and they get one of the best matchups in the entire league against the Los Angeles Lakers. Fox, Beasley, Edwards, Carter, Towns, Hield, Bagley, Pirtle. Love it. How many minutes for Cody Martin? Cody could really play like upwards of like anywhere from like 26 to 30 minutes tonight if they go small, like I believe they will. So he's in a pretty good spot. He's in an interesting spot, and they've been playing him over Kelly Oubre a lot too. I mean, they've played him over Terry Rozier recently as well. So I mean, there is quite a bit of upside in Cody Martin. Ball, Suggs, Hield, Scotty Barnes, Precious, Ant, WCJ, Wagner, GPP. Yeah, that's fine. GPP, Jaw, Lonnie, Beasley, Burks, Vanderbilt, Bagley, AD, Jokic. Yeah, I love that, man. Yeah, getting up to, I mean, if you're getting multiple 10K plus guys, I mean, you're going to be very, very contrarian on this slate. Trey, is that can we slam the over on Huerter over 21 fantasy points? Absolutely. I actually think that you could right now just take the over Kevin Huerter fantasy points because this is just like very low, even if Trae Young's playing, because in a normal scenario, he's going to play around 32 minutes in a very good plus matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies. They have the worst defensive rating. It is a pace up spot for them. And, his minutes got cut back a little bit and he still almost hit over 21 fantasy points. So you could hit it now at 21 fantasy points. And then if Bogdanovich and or Trae Young are ruled out, then you're going to have severe value there, because once he is ruled out, if he is ruled out, then Kevin Huerter is probably going to get taken off the board and then put back up at like 27 fantasy points, something like that. Willie Hernangomez, a couple of big games back to back. Yeah, I'm not really on Willie. They've been like, it's only because Jonas, I mean, unless you think the game blows out, which it very well could be, because 2 games ago, Jonas Valanciunas kept going to the locker room over and over again because of an injury, but he just like kept coming back, and Willie Hernangomez got some extra minutes. But yeah, really not expecting that here unless you think it blows out. You doing any updates for Patreon? Patreon is locked in as of right now. Best 2 players in Orlando, Wendell Carter Jr. and Jalen Suggs. How many minutes for PJ Washington? I mean, it's really hard to gauge. Like, low 20s. Low 20s is my best guess. It's just like a tricky spot because, you know, Mason Plumlee's out, so he really is like the only center they want to play. They're going to play Nick Richards some too, but they like running small ball lineups with Miles Bridges at the 5 and Kelly Oubre and Cody Martin out there. So, you know, he's going to start these halves, and he'll probably get some run in the second quarter, but I honestly don't think he gets any run in the fourth quarter. So, you know, probably like 20 to 22 minutes for PJ Washington. I think a lot of people are going to fall into the trap of playing PJ. Yeah, it was 9,500 for Herter once. Yeah, I remember that. 2 balance. No, I think balanced lineup is very, very good today. Brogdon or Fox. It's probably Brogdon for me. But, man, I mean, you play both. Play both. Yuta Watanabe, a game time decision tonight. For GPP, Fox, Lonnie, Beasley, Burks, Bridges, Bagley, 80, Towns, love it. OG ruled out. Who do you like? Yeah, so with OG Anunoby out again, Ken Birch also out. Precious Achiuwa is my favorite play from the Toronto Raptors. Middling matchup, but, you know, he should play high 20s minutes. But, man, he's constantly going to be the 5th option out there. He's really going to need to lock up these peripheral stats in order to pay off his price tag, even at 4.1K. Brogdon, Beasley, Edwards, Carter Jr., Cat, Mitchell, Green, Pirtle, DK Cash. Absolutely love it, man. Yeah, love it. 3 Kings, 3 Wolves with Pirtle and WCJ, or should I prioritize some Hornets? No, I think in cash games, the Hornets, you don't need to bring it back with the Hornets. In tournaments, you might want to, but I just don't think it's absolutely necessary to do it. Lakers versus Kings or Hornets versus T-Wolves, which is the better game environment in your opinion? It's tough, man. I would say likely the Lakers versus Kings is probably the better game environment, but both of those games are far and away the best game environments. Behind them would be the Hawks and Grizzlies game, but those 3 games specifically are like the 3 games you want to target the most in terms of game environment, how close the game should be, how fast the game should be, and how poor the defenses are on both sides. Rozier and Ja or Jokic and Oubre and Martin? I'd probably go with Jokic and Oubre there. What small forward do you like? Yeah, small forward is a bit of a tougher situation. It's probably, I guess Malik Beasley's only shooting guard eligible over here. I'd like Lonnie Walker, but it's probably Buddy Hield at 5,800. Sorry. Bridges or Brogdon? Going to be Brogdon for me. Oubre or Bagley? Still going to be Bagley for me. DK, GPP, Russell, Beasley, Wagner, Carter Jr., Achiuwa, LaMelo Ball, Draymond Fox, love it. Best forward on DK at 5,900 or lower for last spot. Going to be Buddy Hield. But you're a Patreon member, so you already have Buddy Hield. You know, it's probably going to end up... Wait, what did you say you need? 59. Oh, any forward. It could be power forward as well. Let's take a look. It's probably Wendell Carter Jr. right there. Or Gary Trent Jr. at 59. It's probably Gary Trent Jr. just from a cash games perspective. McNasty. Do you like Ant? Yeah, I think Ant's in a very good spot. The only problem with it is that I love D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns quite a bit today, so I can't play all 3 of them. I'm fine with playing 2 of those 3 guys, but not 3 of them. I mean, you could play 2 of those guys, one of them being Anthony Edwards. Which makes a lot of sense to play Anthony Edwards over D'Angelo Russell, just because those point guards are so stacked. Cat or AD GPP? In tournaments, I'd probably go AD, although I just absolutely love Cat, and I'm playing Cat everywhere. I think Giddey is still a good play with SGA active. I do not. He has received a pretty significant price increase, so I'm not interested in Giddey with Shea being active. And contrary to the previous countless years, the Washington Wizards are actually good on defense right now, so not really a team to target. What about Murray? Not really on Murray. I do prefer guys like Murray is in a good spot. It's just it's an 11-game slate. There's a lot of good plays in that price range. I'd rather pay down to get to guys like Fox, Brogdon, D'Angelo Russell if I'm looking at a point guard, or if I'm paying up, I'd rather go to the other guards if I can find them, like Trae Young, Ja Morant, But DeJounte Murray definitely viable. Capella or Aiden. Capella if I'm choosing between the two. DK 4100 left utility. It's probably going to be Lonnie Walker for me. Assuming you already have Malik Beasley. Fred VanVleet, DeJounte, or Curry and CJ for a FanDuel GPP line. Curry, CJ for me. I'm not really on Fred VanVleet. I think, you know, Fred VanVleet kind of plays into the strengths of their defense. Wagner or Robinson Earl. Probably Wagner for me. Best play of the slate, FanDuel. For FanDuel, actually, let me take a look at my cheat sheet. It's going to be, it's De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is my favorite play on FanDuel, like, by far. Or Karl Anthony Towns. Like, Karl Anthony Towns has an insulting price tag at 8.8K. Davion Beasley, Edwards, Bagley, Cat, LaMelo, Wendell Carter Jr., and Hart. I'm not really on Hart, but I absolutely love the rest of that lineup. Hart's playing big minutes right now. So, I mean, it's a tough matchup, but, you know, I like that. I like that lineup quite a bit.
It's freedom from fear. It's a billboard on the side of the road.
Davion
Screens with reassurance. Whatever you're doing.
Is Fox a lock? Fox is pretty close to a lock for me. I absolutely love him tonight. Minutes projection for Bagley. I mean, it is a pretty volatile minutes projection. I will say, like, the range of outcomes is pretty wide, but I will say that I lean more on the side of Bagley getting up to like 26, 28 minutes tonight, which is probably going to be a lot higher than the industry. I'm like really on Bagley. He has a chance to start here. And without Barnes, I think there's a very good chance that he closes at the 4 or even the 5, which I think would make the most sense for them to him closing at the 5 as opposed to Damian Jones and Alex Lynn. I think that is pretty likely against a small ball lineup of the Lakers, what they used to close with Anthony Davis at the 5. So, you know, I think Bagley has an opportunity for some pretty big minutes here. Gobert or Bridges? Going to be Bridges for me. I think that game plays a lot closer. Do you like Len? Len, tournament only for me. Fox, Beasley, Davion, Buddy, Bridges, Carter Jr., Towns, Draymond for GPP. Love it. Javonte Green and play for FanDuel GPP. Nope. Javonte Green will get these spot starts. He's back in the starting lineup because this is the lineup that they want to run with Caruso coming off the bench. He's just not going to play that much. So they're going to end up closing with Javonte Green. Or closing with Alex Caruso over Javonte Green. So Javonte Green's not even going to get that many minutes. He's not a good per minute producer either. Favorite play under 5.1K. Probably Marvin Bagley, man. Is Herter in play? Yeah, Herter's definitely in play. He just, and now that Bogdanovic and Trae Young are both game time decisions, if either of those guys are ruled out, Kevin Herter becomes one of the best value plays on the entire slate. So make sure to keep your eyes open for that. LaMelo, Rozier, Herter, Vanderbilt, Cat, Mitchell, Carter Jr., Healed. What you think? I like that a lot. Oubre or Bagley. Going to be Bagley for me, but I do like Kelly Oubre. Lonzo or Drew. Definitely Drew. Hernan Gomez, risky play. Yeah, I'm not really on Hernan Gomez. I think his minutes have been up due to blowouts and to Jonas Valanciunas getting injured, so I'm not really interested in going there. Brogdon, Edwards, Towns, Fox, Beasley, Bagley. Good start. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, those are all like core plays for me tonight. Russell, Fox, Beasley, Rozier, Bridges, Healed, Randall, Bagley, Towns, FanDuel, Singleton. Yeah, and I also think that Julius Randle, one of the better plays over on FanDuel. It's just he's going to be very overlooked. He's sub 9K. He's too cheap over there. Ant-Man in play, absolutely. Clint Capella, good play today in your opinion? Yep, I think so. It's just, he comes at a very stacked center option. I'd rather pay a little bit more, get up to Karl Anthony Towns, or pay down a little bit more and get to Jakob Poeltl. It's Herter a solid play now that some of the guys might be out. Yeah, I mean, he was a fine play regardless, but yeah, those guys being out would be crazy. Suggs over Hart. Yeah, I'd rather have Suggs over Hart. Check DMT. Just made a FanDuel line first time in a while over there. LOL, I got you, bro. Yeah, the FanDuel lineup really just like came together pretty easily for me. Let me check out my Discord. Yeah, I mean, I like that a lot. We don't have too much different. We pretty much have a pretty similar lineup over on FanDuel. Okay, why don't you like Triple J if you love that game, everyone? I can't seem to get away from him. It's just like his minutes are like very, very volatile. More times than not, I think now that he's going to play like 30 to 32 minutes. I mean, it's a tougher rebounding matchup for him. Good offensively, though. just like in a weird price range where I'm not really getting to. He's not like unplayable for me. So if you love him, I mean, go for it, man. Like, I'm not gonna talk you off the ledge for him. Utility 3,900, probably Davion Mitchell. But if you already have him, then Lonnie Walker. Sorry I'm late, but is Bagley a cash play or just GPP? I think he's a fine cash play. I think he's good in cash, but I think the upside is pretty significant with him. You know, last year he was over a fantasy point per minute player. So if he's in the starting lineup or if they just let his minutes rip like they did in the second half of last game, I mean, he could end up playing quite a bit. As the last two spots on DK, Edwards and Russell, or Cat and Carter. I'd probably go with Edwards and Russell there. That's close though. Then DK, GPP, Rozier, Beasley, Oubre, Giannis, Jokic, Herter, Bagley, Davion Mitchell. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, that lineup's tight. You fit in Giannis and Jokic, and I don't feel too bad about the rest of your team. So value definitely did open up with Mason Plumlee, Rashawn Holmes, Harrison Barnes all being ruled out. Yeah, cash game, I'd probably play Edwards and Russell there, Corey. Wagner and Miles Bridges, thoughts? I love Miles Bridges. Wagner more of a secondary option for me, but, you know, they did run the offense through him last time. They could continue to do that here. Yeah. Top chalk fade. I don't know. I don't even know who's really the chalk today. I mean, it's such an 11-game slate. The ownership is really spread out tonight. Final line of the night is Curry, Beasley, Davion, Oubre, Vanderbilt, Bagley, Towns 80 for GP. Love that, man. Is Fox, Bagley, Mitchell, and Buddy too many Kings for a single entry lineup? No, I think that's fine, man. Like, I think the minutes are going to be very condensed tonight, and we know where that production's coming from. And, you know, there's a very good chance that Bagley ends up closing at the 5, so the center spot kind of gets washed away, which is going to open up more minutes for the guards and wing guys. So, you know, we could see very big minutes out of the guys you just mentioned. Kemba Walker. Yeah, I think Kemba Walker is a good play. He's obviously going to be first in line to get the lion's share of point guard minutes today, but we saw it last time. Even with Derrick Rose out, he's not a shoe-in to play 30-plus minutes. You know, quickly, and Alec Burks ate into his minutes big time last time out. So Walker's a fine play, but he has a ton of upside. He had a ton of upside. It's just like, you know, his floor is very low. Thoughts on Drew? Yeah, Drew at 6,800. I mean, he's just so closely priced to the guys that I prefer, like Fox, Brogdon, and De'Aaron Fox at the same exact position. But if you don't have enough money to get up to them, or if you want to be a bit contrarian, go down to Drew Holiday. You know, we just saw him play 39 minutes not too long ago, so he's clearly not on a minutes limit anymore. And so if he's going to play mid-30s minutes in a game that's supposed to be competitive, assuming Nikola Jokic is healthy, you know, he's going to be very low owned, and I think he is in a very good spot today. Joker or Giannis? It's going to be Joker for me today, assuming he's healthy. I mean, you go back to the beginning of last year with no Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. on the court. Nikola Jokic averages 1.79 fantasy points per minute, and they will push his minutes a lot farther than they will Giannis Antetokounmpo. Edwards over Booker? Yes, I prefer Edwards there. Miles Bridges, thoughts? Yeah, Bridges in a very good start. Yeah, Keita Bates-Diop started last time. Not a very good play. I think Lonnie Walker is a better play than him. Who benefits the most from Plumlee being out? Everybody, man. I think the game's just going to be a lot faster. But, I mean, specifically, probably Kelly Oubre, because I think they end up running more small ball with Miles Bridges at the 5. And so Kelly Oubre is going to earn some more minutes in those small ball lineups where he's been very, very successful so far this year. Suggs, Beasley, Edwards, WCJ, Capella, Oubre, Bridges, Gobert, single entry. Love it. D'Lo and Bagley are Bridges and Mitchell. Let's go D'Lo and Bagley there. LaMelo 30-point triple-double tonight. Would not be the slightest bit surprised. I think LaMelo Ball is in a very, very good spot tonight. Especially with Patrick Beverley being out. I mean, he's a pretty good on-ball defender. So, I mean, that's a plus matchup for LaMelo Ball, 100%. Is Oubre a crazy play tonight? Everyone seems to be playing him. No, Oubre is a pretty good play. Mason Plumlee being out really benefits him. Cat or Ja in cash GPP? Cat for me. Minutes on Monk. I mean, like, I'm not playing Malik Monk with everybody being healthy. Although I will say that if AD's starting at the 5, that's probably going to open up a bit more minutes for him, because that's going to be less minutes from, Dwight Howard could get bumped from the rotation if AD is starting at the 5, which I think there's a pretty good chance with him starting there. DK Cash, Bridges or Edwards. Bridges for me in Cash. Fox and Draymond are Bridges and Drew. Let's go Fox and Draymond there. Brogdon, Edwards, Towns, Fox, Beasley, Bagley, Hield, and Davion Mitchell. Absolutely love it. Cody Martin and Pirtle, or Oubre and WCJ. Going to be the Pirtle side for me. Oubre or Herter if you have the money. Especially with the injury news looming on Trae Young and Bogdanovic. If they end up being their game time decision, if they end up sitting, Kevin Herter might be like the best play on the entire slate, because I don't even think this Grizzlies team can blow out a Hawks team without Trae Young, Bogdanovic, and Hunter. They've been very, very bad. Final, Brogdon, Beasley, Edwards, Bagley, Towns, Fox, Hield, Cody Martin. Love it. Fox, Beasley, Ant, Bagley, Pirtle, Mitchell, Hield, Jokic, DK, GP. Love it, man. Yeah, I love at the end of these slates when you guys start throwing out your lineups, they become a lot better in my opinion. So, yeah, again, guys, just to reiterate, if Trae Young were to be ruled out, and or Bogdanovic, I would come over here and slam the over Kevin Herter 21 fantasy points. I think you could hit the over right now and lock in that value, because I think this is a low projection even with them being active. And so if they're active, you're not drawing dead, but if they are inactive, you get significant value here. And it's the same thing, similar thing with Jaylen Brown. Okay, Trae Young will play. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. That was pretty scary. And so will Bogdanovic. Okay, so with that news, somebody was asking questions with like Herter versus Oubre. I do prefer Oubre now. Yeah. Anyone on Alec Burks? Alec Burks has been playing pretty damn well, and they are willing to play him over Kemba Walker. So definitely fine. With Alec Burks there. Cody Martin or Davion Mitchell. Going to be Davion Mitchell for me. AD over Melo. I'd probably lean AD there. I love both of them though, man. Alright guys, we have 1 minute to lock. If you have any last minute questions, make sure to throw them in there. If you guys haven't done so already, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Would really, really appreciate that. Yeah, dude, I swear the Hawks have done that so many times this year, where they will announce somebody as a game time decision even when they're probable. Kind of scary. I think they just want to see them go through warm-ups first before announcing them officially active. Let's get this bread, man. Dude, I'm feeling really good about this slate. Really, really good. All right, guys, it is lock time. I appreciate you guys being here. In-game showdown, people, we have the Lakers on tap tonight. My favorite game of the slate, the Lakers and Sacramento Kings. So we should be able to crush that over on the in-game stuff. But yeah, appreciate you guys